Hey, what's up, guys? It's Shivi. Welcome back to my channel. Uh, Today, I really wanted to test the topic on meditation and what it has done for me. And I feel like meditation really changed my life. And I want to do a video separate on which would be the next video on teaching you how to do meditation. But I feel like people always need like a certain kind of motivation to do something. So I can only speak from my opinions, my not opinion, but my own experience with meditation. I just want to say that it's really hard to look at the camera and act like it's the person I'm talking to, but I'm not. But whatever. So the first thing that meditation helped me with, I felt right away was, well, just to let you guys know, I've wrote stuff down on a whiteboard just because it's hard to remember things, but it's just points, okay? Because I know someone might call me out on looking up. The main thing that it helped me with was being more aware of the now, the present moment, and I just feel like we're always in the present moment. Our body's there, and we can tell ourselves, like we're living in the present moment, but what happens is that our mind thinks too much. And when our mind thinks, we get caught up in the past, we get caught up in the future, and we're never in the now. And we never live in the now, and because of that, we don't really take hold of what the opportunities that the now brings. Okay? If you really think about it, there's nothing else but this moment right now for me. I'm talking to a camera, okay? I'm talking to you guys. And then I'm so focused in on this moment that there's nothing else that can bother me, because I meditate. Whatever happened a few seconds ago, even what I said just now, it all just withered away, right? Into whatever you can say, the past. And there's no future either. And if you think about there's no future, you realize that you're kind of assuming things of life, and the only thing that exists is this moment. And in this moment, you're just being whoever you want to be, like myself, or whatever. That's a whole different topic of talking about ourselves. But the moment only exists, and when you realize that the moment only exists, you're always going to be happy. Okay, that's what I realized. Like in the now, I'm in the moment, and I'm happy. Okay, I don't want to get too deep into these topics because I feel like talking about the now is a whole different video. Okay, each and every point I'm going to talk about is like a whole different video because I can go on about what I've learned so far. But that was one of the things, and it makes you really think about the concept of time. Okay, like time is important because it is a measure of. So humans made it's a measure of time, but time is a measurement of how long something's whatever. But honestly, realistically, we know that moments that happen in our lives just are there and then they're gone, right? So what really is time? And since we're talking about time, the next thing I learned was that I used to lie to myself about. So the second thing is that I used to lie to myself about, I'll do something later. And what I learned is that later doesn't exist. I'm bullshitting myself. What do you mean later? And the first thing, and it wasn't that I told myself anything. It's just I was so focused on the moment. I realized, okay, I gotta pick up these clothes. If I'm saying I'll pick it up later, when does later exist? When's later? Like I'm in the moment, so I'm contradicting myself. Am I not? So I started picking my stuff right away. I started not procrastinating on certain events. I could have procrastinated on this, but I couldn't because I was lying to myself if I did. So basically, telling yourself, I'll do it later is bullshit. So it helped me with my productivity for sure. Okay, that's second. Third is my assumptions are gone. Well, most likely gone. When I see myself making assumptions, I go, it's an assumption. I really don't know for sure. So what I'm saying is that if I'm in the present moment right now, right, and a girl and a guy are in front of me, okay, and she slaps him, Now, I'm assuming a bunch of things. Oh, he cheated on her. Whatever. Or it could be whatever reason. Mainly that would come to mind. But, I don't know. He forgot to say happy birthday, and then he apologized, and she's really emotional and like slaps him. At the end of the day, they're all assumptions, right? Now, this is a very small example, but that's an assumption. And when I stopped making assumptions about things and started seeing things for what they were, I realized that I stopped putting so much energy into worrying about my own life also. For example, if I was with a girl, right? She went out to the club with her friends. Now, I'm assuming that she might cheat on me. It's an assumption, and that ruins the relationship. So that's really horrible to think about, right? Think about how much of stress I'm putting on myself, and think about how much stress I'm putting on her, and she's thinking like, yo, this guy doesn't even trust me. And trust is a whole different factor, maybe, whatever. But a large part has to do with assumption, okay? Assumptions are just lies that you're telling yourself. Like, what you know for sure, and that's what helped me with. Like, what I know for sure, I'll live with that, okay? Because I don't know anything else. Simple. Number 4, because I stopped making assumptions, I stopped telling myself things like, oh yeah, I know that. You know, like you make a lie to yourself, or yeah, whatever. But the main thing that helped me with when I stopped assumptions also was that number 4 is I became curious of life. I became curious of everything. I realized I don't know anything. Right? I realized what I know, I learned. I basically don't know anything. I started editing these videos. I didn't know how to do it. I started learning about history. I started learning about what we're doing here. What's our purpose? Like, why am I on this planet? What do the stars mean? Like, we have mountains and stuff like that, and you know, like little things. Like, we have outlets. Like I one day searched up why those outlets are there and how they were made. Who Albert Einstein was. What Martin Luther King did. I'm curious. Okay, I became aware. I'm aware of everything now, and I question everything now. Okay, and that brought me to a whole different point in my life, because when you're curious, you're smart, you learn, and there's people out there that will learn something, and because they lack curiosity and they just want to learn something, you will see that they stop learning stuff because they're not really in the moment. And just to remind you, everything is actually wrapped in the moment. It's actually all in the first point I made, now. And when you're in the now, you're curious, right? That's huge, because I'm always growing every single day. I mean, I'm curious every single day, because I'm aware. It's basically that's what it is. I'm aware, okay? And I think there's a lot of points I can go with, but I'm going to end it off with this point. It's the last point. 6th point, I guess. I forgot what I'm at. It helped with my anxiety. It was the reason why I started meditating, okay? I can go, like I said, there's a whole different topics, but basically overview I can say is that I had social anxiety. And what it made me realize was that I was labeling, not just social, I can go with like fear of like certain events too. Like I played basketball, so I used to have like fear before games and stuff like that. Like, anxious to perform, I guess. So there's 2 things I noticed. When it came to social anxiety, I realized that I was putting thoughts. Okay, I realized that I used to, well, that's another point, but I'll talk about it later. I realized that I used to put thoughts to things, right? Like people, for example. I used to put them up at a point. Like celebrities, for example, they're just fucking people, but we put them into such a high standard, for example. That's one example. Or like your principal. Yeah, he's a principal, but in your head, you're thinking he has all the authority, or whatever. You put certain thoughts in your head instead of looking at just who they are. Right, so that was causing my social anxiety. There were probably other causes too, but that was the main thing. I used to look at other people and like they had their opinion matters for some reason. So the thought process of that was gone, right? And when it came to like events and stuff like that, like talking in front of big groups, presentations, or playing basketball in front of a big crowd or performing wise, I realized that those had to do with the future. You know, the emphasis of how am I gonna perform, right? Or imagining things going the way you want them to go. So I'm like latched on to a certain outcome, right? And being latched onto a certain outcome caused me to have anxiety about it because I wanted to be a certain way. And you can talk about anything like that, like being latched onto a relationship. I wanted to be that way, you know, like instead of realizing that life is spontaneous. It's gonna happen the way it's gonna happen. You gotta live with it. That's what I'm saying. Being in the now is so important because you'll just always be okay with the way it is, right? You'll always be okay with it. So the last thing I want to talk about, I thought anxiety would be the last thing, but there's actually a huge point that I just forgot to mention, was thoughts. Okay? I realized that I was taught things without even being aware of them because I didn't meditate before, right? We're all not aware. We absorb things, right? We're sponges. Music you listen to, the TV shows you watch, what your parents tell you, what society tells you. I kept absorbing everything, not being aware of what I was absorbing. So till this day, even when I meditate, even where I'm at in my life, I still feel like, there's a lot of things that, I learned to just go, okay, I'm not putting that in my brain. It just happens because when you start meditating, this happens, right? You know what to put in, you know what to put out. So like, you realize these things of what your subconscious mind or your mind is putting in. So you realize what you're thinking. And I'm not saying that when you start meditating, you stop thinking. What you realize when you start meditating is that your thoughts don't really hold that much of an importance of like bothering you. For example, like, I don't know, I'll straight up admit it. If like something happened out there, like someone killed somebody, you go, damn, he's a human being. How did he kill that person? Like, what made him? And then would I kill that person? What made him do it? Could it happen to me? Blah blah bullshit like that, So whatever. That's just an example. But like thoughts come up and we stick onto them and we start to tell ourselves like, no. This is why it would happen. Or that's just a very broad example. But that we do that. I do that. I used to do that. Stick onto a thought. Try to psych myself back to thinking the way I used to think. That's whatever. But what I'm basically saying is that I realized what was coming into my life, what was making me think a certain way, because I started breaking down my thoughts, right? Started living in the now instead of living in my thoughts. I stopped telling myself a story about my life. Stopped really thinking about what I was told, instead what I see, right? So life became more clear. All I'm saying is that meditation isn't like smoking weed. Meditation isn't like doing any kind of drug that you do it and it tells you truths about stuff or makes you think a certain way. Meditation is basically, you can't even say it's a thing. I'm basically just focusing on something, for example, my breath, and it makes me aware of now. It makes me aware of right now. It makes me live life instead of thinking of life or what I should be doing, blah, blah, blah. It makes me aware. And I feel like it's so much stuff that I've learned, man. Like, I can go on and on, right? But I feel like other stuff like I can talk about, or like everyone else's experience might be different. But basically, these are things that other people might relate to. But I think they also could just be me. I'm going through them, right? But everybody that meditates kind of goes through the same process of like, I'm aware of the now and stuff like that. And then everybody kind of learns from there. Everyone's different, so if you're aware of the now, you learn new experiences, your experiences become totally different, right? Because if you look at society now, everyone's the same. Everyone's doing the same shit, trying to follow the same route. No one's ever different anymore. And that's what I look for in people. How are you different from the other person, right? That was basically it. So I just want to bring this up. This white shirt, I'm going to be wearing a white shirt in my videos from now on. I don't want to be making a video thinking about, I gotta wear something different. I wore that last time. I gotta wear something different this time. I'm wearing a white shirt. And the reason is because I really don't, that was the reason, but basically it's also because I really don't want to care about how I look. I'm here to do a certain thing. I'm here to share. I'm here to teach. I'm here to whatever. And I don't want to put that energy towards something that's so superficial. And I'm not saying that dressing up isn't important. You do it for yourself. But I just want to do it for the wrong reasons. So I hope you guys like my video. Like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate you watching. Hope you have a good day. Take care.